Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Butler. I wanted to present this case unto you that I received from a 45-year-old man who has had multiple complaints. So, starting with his first complaint, he mentions that he has been experiencing significant fatigue and it's been getting worse. It's been exacerbating. He's also mentioned that he has a very stressful job and he drinks a lot of coffee to survive throughout the day. Okay? He also mentions that he works a lot providing for his family, including his wife and his 3 kids. He loves his family, he loves his life. He also mentioned that he's experienced frequent headaches, as well as periodic low-grade back pain. Okay? He's also experienced reflux after eating and regularly experiences constipation. So he did mention to me that he goes 2 to 3 days without a bowel movement and that he does tend to eat a lot on the job out. He does mention that within his diet for breakfast, he drinks orange juice, he has another cup of coffee, and pastries or Cheerios. He often grabs lunch from a hot dog stand, from the food cart at the lobby of his building. And for dinner, usually he will have a meat, a starch like potatoes or rice, and sometimes a salad with iceberg lettuce, tomatoes, and Thousand Island salad dressing. Okay? He also mentioned to me that he rarely drinks water and he prefers sodas or coffee. Okay? For fun, he says that he does enjoy watching sports with his sons on TV, but he does report that he does very little physical activity and he sits for 10 hours a day at work. He attempts to take ibuprofen for the pain and consulted with his medical doctor, and they prescribed him different antidepressants, and he doesn't want to take those. So he's worried about aging rapidly and that he doesn't feel happy or energetic again. So he's come to me for different natural remedies, and he wanted to avoid the route of pharmaceuticals. So let's dive into what the chief complaints are and how we can address and improve on these very areas. So the first complaint is the significant fatigue and its worsening. So he mentions that he has a stressful job and he does take care of his wife and 3 kids. But he does mention that he drinks a lot of coffee to get him through the day. That's number 1. The excessive amounts of coffee can be a hindrance and can contribute to the significant fatigue and the exacerbation of that, because you're not allowing your body to completely excrete the excess caffeine. And if you're not drinking any water behind it and you just constantly feed your body with soda and caffeine, it can lay and weigh on your body significantly. So that's first things first. The second thing is the frequent headaches and the periodic low-grade back pain that he's been experiencing for several months now. I would attribute the headaches, again, to the caffeine and the amount of stress that he has upon himself with the job that he has and with his family. So I would attribute the headaches to the excess caffeine intake, because essentially if you're if you're introducing your body to high amounts of caffeine, you can essentially overload your body and you can go through withdrawals. So I think that can contribute to the headaches as well. And also with the low-grade back pain, he mentions that he sits for 10 plus hours a day at work, but he also watches television with his kids. So that's another amount of time that he's just constantly sitting in one position. And I would say that his posture is something to consider, because we don't know if he is slouching at work or if he's slouching at home when he's watching TV with his kids. So I would say that is a big contributor to his low-grade back pain, that he does very little physical activities and also sits for 10 hours a day. in reference to his reflux, okay, he has acid reflux going on. In reference to his reflux, I would say that is all attributed to his diet, that and the constipation. He mentioned that he doesn't have a bowel movement for 2 to 3 days. So I would say that his fiber intake is very low, and his reflux is solely dependent upon the orange juice in the morning, the coffee, the pastries, the Cheerios, going to the food cart, getting a hot dog every day at work, right? Not eating anything from home, anything that's fibrous that can allow him to have those bowel movements regularly. Okay? So all these very things are a lot of different symptoms that I can see can be very, It can be hard on the body, okay? It can be hard on the body. And I do have a couple of recommendations for this 45-year-old man who has come to me with these problems, with these issues, okay? So the first thing I would recommend is to drink at least 8 bottles of water per day. Considering he does not like water too much, I know that this can be a lot. But considering he's a 45-year-old man, for men, a healthy man would drink approximately 15.5 cups per day. So I'm going to half that for now and say that he needs at least 8 bottles per day. And this is for hydration, this is for regeneration of his cells, because if you're constantly just feeding your body that's made up of water with other supplements like caffeine, coffee, and sodas, and not really flushing out your system, it can really put a damper on your system. So I do recommend that he drinks at least 8 bottles of water. And he can do this because he can do this in many different ways. So he can utilize different substances like Crystal Light. That may be helpful if he doesn't have an affinity for the taste of water. He also can use different other substances like Mio. I don't know if he's heard of that, but you can get that right at the local food market. Crystal Light, Mio, and even flavored water. They have different flavored waters that are for purchase. I like Propel. Propel is a very good brand, and I would recommend him trying these supplements and still including water in his diet. I would say I would truncate the amount of coffee or caffeine that he intakes to about 1 cup per day. I don't want to completely have him go cold turkey, because that can really damage the body in a way, because essentially you're constantly intaking and you have built up this rapport with your body with the caffeine. We don't want to just completely shut it off. So I would ask for him to only drink 1 cup a day, and then eventually we'll wean him off. Okay? Secondly, to acknowledge the low-grade back pain, the sitting for the 10 hours and the little physical activity, and also sitting with his kids watching TV. Instead of watching sports, I would recommend that he goes on a walk or even tries to play different games outside with his boys. Maybe they can play basketball. Maybe they can throw the ball around, throw the baseball around, something that can really trigger and really move those muscles, get those muscles moving, so that he's not just sitting for 10 hours a day and adding to that time, but he can also exercise his muscles and still have a time to spend with his boys. Okay? So, to address that, I think that would be a good idea to help his low-grade back pain, because I do think that it does attribute to his posture, him sitting for a long time, and having that added time watching TV every single day with his kids. I think that it would be best for him to engage with his children outside. They can go for walks. They can play little games here and there. And that will also help him with his energy. That burst of energy when he's moving his muscles, those endorphins are moving. What can happen is that can add a sense of energy to the body, and he won't feel as fatigued. Okay? For the diet, I want to break this down into different proponents because for breakfast is different, lunch is different, and dinner is also very different. So for breakfast, instead of orange juice and coffee, and pastries and Cheerios, I recommend that he drinks flavored water. He can eat fresh orange slices instead of the orange juice as a supplement, so he can intake the fresh and the vitamin C strictly from the oranges, as well as a protein. I would want him to eat a protein in the morning. He can have eggs, sausage, bacon, turkey bacon, however he feels necessary to intake that amount of protein in the morning. Okay, so no pastries, no Cheerios, but instead starting the day off with fresh orange slices and water will get his body going throughout the day. And he will feel less fatigue. For lunch, it sounds like he doesn't have time to fix his own lunch, so maybe he can have his wife fix him lunch every single day, maybe meal prep. And I would want her to place, again, a nice grain of meat, maybe grilled chicken or rotisserie chicken for that protein, as well as something with greens to have his bowels going. We need for him to eat green leafy vegetables, any green leafy vegetables. I do have a chart that I printed out to give him a variety of different green leafy vegetables that will help him to produce a bowel movement every single day, to be regular every single day. So he can pick from any of these green leafy vegetables, but I do recommend that he eats at least 2 portions for lunch and 2 portions for dinner. So he can pick whatever type of green leafy vegetable and have his wife meal prep it so that he is alleviating the time to go and pick a hot dog up from the local stand in the lobby. Okay? So for dinner, again, I would want him to exchange the starch, like potatoes or rice, and I would want him to incorporate those green leafy vegetables. I would also like him to drink the water as well. So all throughout the day, I would urge him to be drinking the water, drinking the crystal lighted water, so that he's able to flush out his system. And if he feels up to it, he can also have a protein during this time. So in order to feel good and build up those muscles so that he's outside playing with his kids, he has to build up that protein. So I do recommend him intaking more protein and more green leafy vegetables so that he's able to go regularly. He does mention that he went to his primary care physician and they recommended an antidepressant. I don't believe that that is necessary because once you follow this plan, he will start to feel better. He will start to feel not only better about himself, he'll start to look better. He'll start to engage more with his kids outside. And even like his wife, he will feel happy and inclined to take care of his family when he's starting to feel better. Okay? Also, if he's still feeling fatigue, I will recommend that he takes maybe a vitamin B supplement, maybe like a tincture that he could find at the local organic market. And if he's starting to feel fatigued after a while, I just recommend 1 or 2 drops underneath the tongue, and it will give him that boost of energy to get throughout the day. Instead of going to coffee, I recommend that he takes those vitamin B supplements, tincture drops. Okay? And he is very concerned about being happy again, and I believe he will absolutely attain this. He just has to be able to want to do better, be better, as well as taking the recommendations as they are. He can deviate here and there. That's within the parameters. But I believe that without any pharmaceuticals, without any antidepressants, he is able to be happy again. He's able to be healthy again. Okay? So I just wanted to acknowledge those very things for my patient and make sure that he is on the right road to success. So thank you so much for listening. And I hope that all of this knowledge is attributed and considered when reevaluating this case.